people were here before us, and they were people of faith. 19 people began this work of ministry back in 1904, and every generation there has been faithful people who have been consistent and committed to the call of Christ right here on the south side of Easton. So it just means that God raises up people in every generation to really carry on the work of the kingdom of God. In 1976, he came and they were worshiping in a Methodist church, Union AME Church on Berwick Street, believe it or not, which is right up the street. And there was only about, again, 19 folks that were there. And my father came in and preached. I can almost remember his first sermon, which was amazing. And then, of course, he came on as the pastor there in 76 and led the congregation for many more years. They built the building, which we now know as the chapel, a few years later. And the journey began with our family and with my parents shepherding the church. And then in 1993, some devastating things happened.
I came later on, and right around 1993, we were engaged to be married.
Yes,
and we got a call one night that the church caught on fire, and it was just devastating to stand outside of the doors of what we now call the chapel and just watch the building burn, and the firefighters try to put out the fire. But then something really amazing happened. Pastor Fred Davis, my father-in-law, whom I just love and adored, he came all the way from Harrisburg, and he rallied us together. And instead of us seeing the negative in the fire, he found something good in that fire. He found the fact that this fire was going to unify us. It was going to bring us together, closer together, and we were going to get beyond this. And when we left there, we didn't leave there feeling defeated as a church. We left there feeling like we can make it through this.
Yeah, and the amazing thing is he pointed out when he went in the building, the fire started in the foyer and was moving into the sanctuary. But there was literally a handprint on the wall. You remember that?
Yes.
That like it was almost saying, to the fire, stop, you can't come any further. And we pointed that out, and the hands of the clock stopped right at 3 a.m. in the morning. So it was pretty cool because, when he came out, everybody was standing around waiting for him to come out, and he came out with his hands up in the air.
Yes.
And he said, we can rebuild it. After that, until the church got rehabilitated or rehabbed, we had church out in the park. Yeah, we set up chairs.
And it didn't rain at all.
not at all. The whole summer long, it didn't rain into probably October.
Yes.
It didn't rain, and when it got cold, we moved inside. And so what happened is while we were having services outside, the church grew by leaps and bounds.
It did.
And Deacon Tracy tells a story, who's the chairman of our deacon board now, that he was sitting out. He would sit out on his porch and listen to the word being preached. Wow. While we were outside doing our open air service. So we moved back inside, and I'm sitting on the pulpit next to my dad, and I looked over to him and I said, "Dad, I think we built the church too small." And he looked at me and said, "Shut up, boy," in only a Fred Davis voice. But that was an amazing.
The church grew. It just began to expand. The borders expanded.
It's amazing because probably right around 2000, Pastor Fred really got the vision along with the leadership to build the facility that we know now as the Greater Shiloh Church. We kicked around a lot of names, and Greater Shiloh Baptist Church Family Worship Center, Shiloh Baptist Temple. And so my father threw around a lot of names, and then finally I remember one day we showed up at the house, and he was like, "I got it." I was like, "You got what?" And he said, "The Greater Shiloh Church." And it settled in our hearts, and that was an amazing time for us, because essentially when he talked about removing the Baptists, I said, "Dad, you're going to get a lot of pushback." He said, "Well, people resist change, but they'll be okay." He said, I'm not doing this for my generation, I'm doing it for the generation that comes behind me. Because he said there's more that brings us together than there is that separates us.
Yeah, the thing about that is he was never just thinking about where we were. He was always thinking about where we were going. He was never just thinking about the generation that was at hand. He was thinking about the generation to come. We always want to remember that God's plan is so much bigger than ours. If we can see it, if we can touch it, then it's not God's plan. God always asks you to do something that's so much bigger and massive than you think you can handle. So we didn't think we could handle this, but here we are, your pastors 11 years later, and just blessed to serve this congregation and to serve the body of Christ. And now we're looking at vision and where we're going next. We're not there yet, but we're getting there.
You know, vision is seeing further than your eyes can see.
Yeah.
So when we think about Vision Sunday, it's not just another day. It's a day for me to share as your pastor what I see beyond the horizon, what's next, where are we going, right? And you can't really appreciate where you're going until you take a look back and see where you've come from, and then really can appreciate where you are right now and celebrate where God has you right now. But then looking to the future is an amazing thing. Yeah.